The number one thing that women tell me is that they just don't feel like themselves. They just can't explain it. They're like, I just feel different. It's not good. And they know it's perimenopause. It's more of a buzzword now, menopause, perimenopause. We're actually talking about it, which is great. But what we're not talking about is that you don't have to feel bad. You can actually feel better.
You're listening to the Lifestyle Medicine Podcast with Dr. Ivan Rusilko, brought to you by Access Lab, where we explore new perspectives at the forefront of personalized healthcare.
All right, welcome back to the Lifestyle Medicine Podcast. I'm Dr. Ivan Rusilko. If your doctor's not checking labs, then he's not a doctor. And I have got a treat for you today, especially for the women. I'm here with Dr. Jen Pfleghaar, who is a fellow alumnus from the Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine. We just found that out a second ago, so that's pretty cool. Graduated actually a year apart. Go figure. So it's really unique too. And her backstory is something special. She was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, and she kind of took that and kind of went the extra step and became, she's board certified in integrative medicine as well as emergency medicine. So she's double board certified, which is awesome. She also serves on a lot of really unique boards as well. The Invisible Disabilities Association, which is really, really cool. I'm going to get into that with her as well. She's got a book out too, which is the Perimenopause Reset, which I think is fascinating, which kind of alludes to what we're going to be talking about today. Check her out on her Instagram. It's Integrative Dr. Mom. That's DR Mom on Instagram. And she's kind of living my dream. She's in Tennessee and she's got chickens and she's working out. She's having the best hillbilly lifestyle that I wish I was living right now. So Dr. Jen, thank you so much for joining us on the Lifestyle Medicine Podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Excellent. So I got to ask, what was your overall opinion of LECOM as you went through it?
Well, Erie, Pennsylvania was my hometown. So it was kind of sweet that I got to be home for an extra 2 years. And that's when I went through my Hashimoto's diagnosis. So I had surgery between my first and second year because they thought I had thyroid cancer because my nodules were getting bigger. So, praise God, it was not cancer. And they were like, I remember the surgeon, they're like, oh, it looks like Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Is like, there's nothing you can do about that. And it's just this weird autoimmune disease. And now I just got a quote for my Tirosint because they removed half my thyroid. So my Tirosint thyroid medication, because I'd have to take it. I only have a little bit of thyroid left. It's like $369 a month. And I'm like, that's all because I was told I had an autoimmune disease I couldn't reverse. But I was in medical school and we are groomed in medical school. I guess this is what I think.
It's a good word.
Yeah. So we're groomed to find a diagnosis and treat it with medication. That's it, right? That's it. So really, I loved medical school because it is what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people, but you really do need that background. I like your intro. If your doctor is not ordering labs, they're not a doctor. We do need that background. It's really important for us to know the bad stuff, the conventional medicine, the zebras, But then we're different because then we went a step further and we're like, okay, let's go back to the roots. Let's go back to the DO roots of Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine. Yeah.
I love that.
And look for root causes. So yeah, I had a good time during medical school. I mean, I think though, probably not good. I think we all drank too much because we were too stressed out.
Guilty as charged. I think I partied more in medical than I did in undergraduate. And it's funny, I'm actually from Meadville, which is right down the road. I went to Mercyhurst, so I was in Erie basically my entire life. And yes, I can definitely vouch for that. We did drink way too much in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Well, it's snowing and what else do you do? But seriously, I don't think then in residencies people drank too. And it's because no one's teaching us, the things that we preach now is stress relief, healthy stress relief, and making sure vagal nerve, I mean, it's just so funny. But yeah, that's what I would say about medical school. Probably, it was a good time, but we didn't deal with our stress well, I don't think.
No. Again, like you said, we aren't taught to. We're definitely groomed. Okay, you're tired, drink coffee. You know what I mean? Like I think I'm pretty much immune to coffee these days. You know what I mean? And it's a situation like some people step outside the box and do it, or somebody like you actually has a medical issue that kind of prompts them to actually think outside the box. And sometimes you're forced outside the box, and sometimes you just travel outside the box. So, I always love meeting physicians who have gone down this route of wellness, regenerative, and whatever you want to call it, for a reason, I guess you could say. So it's always
Mhm.
good, and thank you for sharing that story. I know some people don't really like to talk about things that have happened to them, but that's pretty awesome that you've had that, and it seems like you're excelling. Looks like you're doing great, super healthy, and everything's going well for you.
Yeah, yeah, having fun. Well, we took the next big step and we moved out of Ohio. I ended up there for my residency, as I was telling you a little bit before, and we moved to Tennessee, and now we have some acreage and
Nice.
chickens and an accidental rooster, which you heard him cockadoodling, and I was like, because it's so loud. I'm in a little studio with a mic, and we were not supposed to have a rooster, but he'll protect the hens, so it will
Hey,
be
that's
good.
right. Hey, man, you never know. A rooster comes in handy every now and then.
Yeah,
So that's always good.
if it's
It'll
so.
be dinner very quickly.
So
Well, that's good. That's good. I'm so happy you got to share. Now that we get to know a little bit about you personally, I'm super excited to start talking about what you do professionally. And
cool.
again, it's awesome to sit there. I just done a podcast not too long ago when it came to what andropause is, and how men go through a specific situation where things like testosterone and DHA and IGF and things like that start to actually diminish, which is what leads to the dad bod and all these different types of things. And of course, menopause, which everybody knows what that is, but not many people understand perimenopause or going into menopause or what causes it. So I'm super excited to hear what your thoughts are, how you see women these days versus a few years ago after COVID, how everything's going when it comes to, are people getting to perimenopause quicker? Are they transitioning to menopause faster? And I'm also curious to see which type of lab testing you think is the most definitive and the most important things to do to actually test for a woman's stages and how close she is to eventually going into menopause.
Yeah. Well, menopause, the best indicator of when you're going to go through menopause, which is a whole year without a menstrual cycle. So that means your follicle stimulating hormone is really high because there's not any more follicles or eggs left. And your estradiol, your estrogen is going down low and it needs replenished. From what we do, we like to replenish hormones. We like to do anti-aging medicine. And perimenopause is different because this can last for a couple years symptomatically or 10 years symptomatically. We really see a big range of age on this. And I am seeing post COVID earlier and earlier symptoms. And why are they having these symptoms? Well, usually it's this wildly fluctuating estradiol levels. While
Hmm.
estradiol is going down low, it can fluctuate, and you can have some months where it's extra high because the body is confused and thinks, was there an egg or not? And then more FSH comes, and then you get another surge. This is also similar to why in perimenopause, twins are more common because sometimes there's two eggs released because they're not as higher quality follicles. So then we have
What?
that going on. And then we have our progesterone just going down. And that's similar to testosterone with men. Yeah, it's like a really gradual. So what happens? Well, during that second half of the cycle, the luteal phase where most women, are craving carbs or, just want to hang out in their pajamas and do movie night and all that or PMS symptoms. We have yeah, I mean it's true you do feel that way, but if it's that dramatic then that means you have a hormonal imbalance. But we see this estrogen and estradiol and progesterone, which should be fairly balanced during that luteal phase, we see them even wider apart. So then we're having more like estrogen dominant like symptoms, which include heavier periods, cramping, irritability, anxiety, perimenopause, you're getting weight gain, you're getting all these like strange symptoms. But really, like, the number one thing that women tell me is that they just, like, don't feel like themselves. Like,
Hmm.
they just, like, can't explain it. They're like, "I just feel different. It's not good." And they know it's perimenopause, it's more of a buzzword now, menopause, perimenopause. We're actually talking about it, which is great. But
Yeah,
what we're not talking about is that you don't have to feel bad. Like you can actually feel better. Like I feel better in my 40s than I did in my 20s.
I
Like you
love
can
that. I
have
love that.
more energy. Yes, yes. But we should like you should like have more wisdom. You should have things like narrowed down a little bit
Should get
better.
easier, right? It should get easier.
Yeah, I mean, you should. You should be like, "Well, I did some stupid things," or "I know that I, shouldn't go out and drink when I'm stressed. I should stay home and read a book or take a bath." But anyway, it's, it doesn't have to be miserable. That's the thing with perimenopause. And then the other thing that's interesting about perimenopause is it can look different for everyone, and it can take a shorter amount of time or longer. So some
Mhm.
women, they show earlier symptoms, and then we start, really working on things like estrogen metabolism to make sure they're getting rid of their estrogen properly. We make sure that that they're supporting their progesterone, and we can dig into that a little bit later because I do a lot
Sure.
of cycle syncing with my patients. And sometimes we support their progesterone with something called chase tree berry, so then their body can make their own progesterone endogenously. Or sometimes we add on a luteal phase progesterone, which is a bioidentical hormone, and that can even things out.
So I'm curious. Everybody, obviously, estrogen and progesterone, are the two most dominant ones. Do you see any influence when it comes to testosterone throughout this entire cycle, from the follicular phase, the ovulation, the actual luteal phase as well?
Yeah, so the testosterone, women are going to have a testosterone bump during ovulation. And that's when they, feel prettiest, sexiest, they want to be intimate,
Got
all
their
those.
mojo going.
Yeah, and that's on purpose, right? That's how we were created. And men have this 24-hour cycle of their hormones, where women, ours is 28 days. Okay. Now, lower testosterone in women, it can start also happening in perimenopause, and it will depend on the woman. And I will replace testosterone, go low and slow, right? I mean, you should not be able to tell a woman is on testosterone.
No, no,
And
no.
yeah, and the interesting thing is not every woman needs testosterone replaced. I have a patient that is 65 years old and has amazing testosterone levels, and she's not even menopausal yet. Yeah, she's just
Oh,
kicking
okay.
it. Yeah, so we don't like it's probably about like 30% of women, 25 to 30% that need that testosterone replacement. Not every woman does. I do see a lot of women needing DHEA, which
Mhm.
is a
Well,
androgenic hormone. Yeah, and that's produced by our adrenal glands, but I have seen that nosedive post COVID. And we do know that the spike
uh,
protein goes into the adrenal glands and causes a ruckus, well, goes
the stress,
everywhere.
but yeah, 100%.
And then the stress. Yeah. Yeah, the stress will really drop that DHEA level. So it's interesting with testosterone. Now, I will say, so there are some women that are more androgenic. They
Mhm.
have more testosterone naturally. They've always have that muscle tone. Maybe they're athletes. They really have like that straight hips. They don't have like that curve.
Curves, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we know there are women. I am curvy. I am not one of those like testosterone women. I can feel my cycle, right? I feel like the women that are more androgenic, they don't tend to have these like cycle problems anymore. And it's kind of frustrating because there's like a few doctors that like I respected, but then they made all these like really mean videos about cycle syncing and how women like are being dramatic about how they feel in their cycle. And I'm like, that's
Being
because,
dramatic, they must not have wives, or I mean, my goodness.
well, no, it's the females that are making fun of them.
Oh, wow, okay, now geez.
But these are very, when you look at their body type, they're that androgen dominant women
Oh,
body
okay,
type. Yes, yes. So I'm not gonna get mad at them because they literally don't know how, like, other women feel, right?
mhm,
That have more of these fluctuations. So that could I have seen that from my clinical experience, kind of blunt those effects. So, anyway, so when we get into cycle syncing,
yeah, I'm
there's 2
curious,
parts.
please, define cycle syncing for me.
Yeah, so I see so many perimenopausal women, and I started, looking at their continuous glucose monitors, listening to them, especially when intermittent fasting became really popular, about 5 years
Mhm,
ago. And I would have women coming to me doing intermittent fasting, yet gaining weight and like feeling miserable, and looking at their continuous glucose monitors and reading the science that we shouldn't be fasting hardcore every part in our cycle.
mhm,
So the first half, that follicular phase, so we're more estrogen sensitive because of our estradiol being higher. So estradiol is more predominant then. So if we fast, we want to fast during that first half of that cycle. So I tell my patients, like, this is when you want to start maybe being more ketogenic, lower carb. If I have people on carnivore diet therapeutically, I have them start it during their follicular phase.
Okay.
Them doing like a 24-hour or 36-hour fast, I have them do it during their follicular phase. Why? Because when we move into that other phase called the luteal phase, that second half of that cycle, that is when progesterone is more dominant.
Mhm.
Progesterone is there to, once an egg is fertilized, progesterone is there to nurture that egg, to grow the endometrium around it. So it's implanted, just have it nice and safe and warm. We're supposed to be relaxed, ready to, nurture and have a child. So what happens, progesterone is affected by cortisol or stress. So we have in our steroidogenic pathway, we have progesterone and then cortisol is right after. So we tend to think, and some people call this the pregnenolone or progesterone steal, when
Yep.
progesterone goes to cortisol. And I have seen this with patients. I've experienced myself. We all see that. Like if we have chronic cross country long distance runners, they don't get their cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their body's under such stress. Or
Give it
you
a
you
triad,
probably have well, you being in the fitness circuit, I mean, you probably have women that that they don't get their cycle when they're cutting down or leaning down or training
No, it's
really.
it's it's weird too, and I do a lot of fertility as well, like pre and post IVF and all that kind of stuff, and you sit there and these women come in and they're 4 ounces of body fat on them. It's just like, I need you to gain like at least 10 pounds of just fat. You know what I mean? Like you can't have that
Yeah.
just rock hard body, which again, some people love it, some people don't, whatever it could be. But you couldn't be more right. The way you diet, even the way you exercise. What do you see when it comes to exercising on the different parts of the cycle as well? Like
Yeah.
aerobic versus anaerobic versus high intensity versus low intensity.
Yeah. So real quick with like the luteal phase. So this is where you don't want to do the big fasts. You can maybe get away with intermittent fasting, but wear a continuous glucose monitor and see if it's stressing out your body. So you don't want to put stress on your body during that luteal phase with what you eat. And so some people, they can, if they are still doing ketogenic diet, I just tell them to increase calories and increase fat. If people are just maybe more animal based, but maybe they add some carbs in that second half. So it's just, and you play around with it because you're gonna be wanting more. Like those people that have 3% body fat, like
Mhm.
they're probably taking supplements and medications to help them like not have cravings, because sometimes you get those cravings, like your body, you naturally want to eat more, and it's okay because you're working with your hormones and you require more calories during that luteal phase.
Have
And
to
then
listen
you
to your
don't, yeah. But you're not going to like be like, oh, my body says to eat a dozen donuts or something, right? Like that's not,
well,
but
that's
if your body's
manipulating
like,
what your body's saying, right?
right, like you have to have some discernment. Like if you're like, like many times my kids will be like, let's have popcorn with the movie. And we have popcorn with butter. I put some like organ meat sprinkles plucked. Have you heard of that? I love them.
No, I haven't. It sounds
Oh,
interesting.
I'll have to introduce you to James, but
Please do.
it's organ meat, like, seasoning, and it's so good on
Yeah.
popcorn, but I tell women, like, allow yourself to, I work with so many mothers, like, allow yourself to enjoy things
Yeah.
because, in your follicular phase, you could do a 24 or 36-hour fast. You're gonna rein it in, you're gonna be more confident doing it, and you're not gonna be working against your body.
Oh, I
So
love that
then
idea. I love that.
yeah. Yeah, it's just especially during perimenopause because I these women, all my patients, I'm in perimenopause, but like there's so many different stressors. Your kids are getting older, your parents are getting older, you might be managing a career, you're
Mhm.
trying to manage friends,
My lifestyle.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot. So they have a lot going on. So, exercise. We all should be moving. We all need to work out, right? Number one, and I think you would agree with this, we all need to be weightlifting.
Yep. Couldn't agree with
Yeah.
you more on that.
So, we all need to be strong. Muscle is a longevity organ.
Yeah.
Muscle
All right.
helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, muscle helps with insulin sensitivity.
Mhm.
The number one thing we worry about is getting dementia, which is type 3 diabetes now coined, and you know,
Nailed it.
di-
Nailed
yeah, so we all need to be lifting. Like there's no excuse to not
it. Mhm.
lift. And this is something I constantly have to like tell my patients, are you lifting? Are you lifting? Um so what about the other stuff? Because also we want a good VO2 max, we want
Yep.
a good aerobic capability. So what do we do as women, right? We don't want to stress out our body. I've had I've had patients totally burn out their hormones in perimenopause to the point where it took a while to get them back. I was worried she was going to go into early menopause because she trained for a marathon.
Oh, marathon are the killers of hormones, I've found. My
Yes.
goodness.
And she gained 20 pounds while she ran the like, she
That's
finished,
kind of
crossed the finish
counterintuitive.
line
Okay.
20 pounds heavier at the marathon
Wow.
because of stress.
Stress. Yeah.
But she did an amazing job and bounced back, and everything is beautiful now. So, it was like whenever anyone's like, you see on their social media, "I'm gonna train for a marathon." I'm like, "You probably shouldn't," but
It's probably not the best idea.
why not? Yeah, like, do, like, a weightlifting competition, but, I mean, you could align your training to your cycle. Okay, so
Mhm,
follicular phase. Follicular phase estradiol is high. You are
mhm.
going to nail it here. You're gonna go hard. You're gonna do your personal records. You're gonna lift heavy and really hit the weights like hard,
Okay.
high weights, low reps. Um, and the other thing that you can put in here is high intensity interval training and sprint
I love it.
training.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is one, and I get so excited when I'm in my follicular phase because I want to run sprints and I'm so excited. I'm like, I can run
Got
sprints
that
now.
reserve, I mean, you're ready to rock, Heck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also you have that natural rest and recovery put into your cycle. But so
Mhm.
then that luteal phase, we want to do more recovery based things. So still lift, but don't try to like kill it. Don't try to be like, I'm going to go and lift the heaviest I've ever lifted. Because why? This is where your luteal phase, because of progesterone and other hormones, you're more likely to get hurt. They did a study on soccer players in Europe, and they actually, the girls that they were following, there were more ACL tears during the luteal phase of the cycle.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Huh.
it's like an actual thing, and I know it's happened to me. I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm just gonna squat the same amount," and then I'm like, "Yeah, my back." I'm like, That didn't feel good." I'm like, "Never mind." So this is also so the injury aspect. So think of that. So the injury aspect, but then there's another aspect which we spoke about before: cortisol and stress. Why? Because the hit workouts, it stresses out your
Uh-huh.
body. Cortisol will have you pack on the weight, and I was ranting about it because I had a patient that happened to, and I was like, "Stop going to Orange Theory." And she's like, "I'm so competitive. I'm addicted to the splat points." And I'm like, "Stop going to Orange Theory." Anyway, she didn't listen to me, and still her adrenal glands are not recovered, but
Yeah, you
I
gotta give it
I had
time.
all of these coaches like yelling at me about it, all these male coaches, and I'm like, "Get off of me." I'm like, "Stop yelling." It was funny.
It's a rough world out there, man. You say one thing the wrong way.
It's like the worst thing you could do in your like in middle age. I'm like, now I know they have some weightlifting classes now, but it's
Mhm.
still a lot of like hit stuff. So
It's
so
yeah,
anyway,
again, too much is way too
lu-
much.
yeah. So luteal phase, you can get out your weighted vest. You can walk at an incline. I don't know if you saw that study. I think it was an incline of 12 at 3 miles per hour for 30 minutes burns just like fat, like amazing. So
Yes. Okay.
yeah, yeah. No, just unweighted, just walking at that
Just
incline.
going.
So
Okay, fantastic. Off the dog.
yeah, I'll have to pull
Send that
that
over to
study.
me. I'm curious.
Yeah. So, there's other things you can do to still to burn fat. Like HIIT is not all you need. But yeah, that luteal phase, listen to your body. You can do mobility stuff, walking, still do weights, of course, swimming. So
Okay.
lots of different things to do. But yeah, so sprints save for the that
Save it.
follicular and
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
I'm curious. So we were talking about the testosterone, progesterone, estrogen, all things like that. What are your thoughts on IGF-1 when it comes to the overall perimenopause years?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is something that you can have patients on a growth hormone secretagogue, and that will help support their IGF-1, and drive that up. When we have higher IGF-1, though, we are going to have like more muscle growth. And we talked about
Mhm.
muscle growth being good. But,
Yeah.
but IGF-1, if you ramp that up too high, it can make you more like insulin resistant too. So you have to worry about that. So I will put patients on growth hormone secretagogues and support that like catabolic type,
Okay.
so they can grow more muscle. Um, and I love them. I have my patients 5 nights a week,
Yep.
just on an empty stomach before bed, like with the natural growth hormone
For
pulse, with the
sure.
growth hormone secretagogue. And then after taking it for a couple months, I check their IGF-1 and see how they're doing.
Now, do you think that you don't cycle it though? It's not like during the luteal phase, it's a different cycle or a different amount than during the follicular phase. It's different as well, or is it just the same thing across the board?
I haven't tried that yet. Actually, it's been a while. So, yeah, if I would cycle that, I would
Yeah, I'm
cycle that.
curious to see if you like now if you're designing an experiment,
Yeah.
what do you think you would do?
Well, I would cycle it during the follicular phase and just really focus on lean muscle growth because you're more
Mhm.
ketogenic. And then, well, you could spin it two ways because then I was thinking that the luteal phase, because it would help your sleep and you would
True.
be eating more. But yeah, I think I would do it during the follicular phase because the luteal phase, you're going to usually be on progesterone and that's going to help you sleep. And if you're not
Can help it
sleeping
anyway.
well, we're going to do that. Yeah. That would be cool. I have started with patients GLP-1s.
Okay.
So I will have them just take a low dose during their luteal phase, that second half of the cycle for when their
Okay.
cravings kick in.
Okay. So are you talking like an actual dose or like a microdose?
More like a smaller dose. Because they're usually a lot of them, they're just in maintenance. Because we only do the weight loss, like, higher dose for a couple months, and then they're in maintenance or they're off completely. But my patients that struggle, that are working on a little bit of other things that they haven't gotten a handle on,
Mhm.
when they have those cravings, it's that luteal phase. So I've been starting with patients just to use it just during that luteal phase, and
Okay.
that helps regulate them a little bit because a lot of times that's when women just kind of lose it. I
Go
mean,
at
we're working on it all. Like, that's the whole beautiful thing about perimenopause. We're working on but it's not going to happen overnight.
No, no, for sure, for sure. No, it's fascinating because there's so many different. I mean, compared to a man, even though I do think men cycle 28 days as well, even though nobody's ever studied that. I mean, as being a man, I think that
Okay.
that full moon gets you moving. You know what I mean? But
Yeah. Okay.
at the
So
end of the day, I think
you feel that.
oh, I do. Again, trust me, it's been the full moon the last 2 days, and I haven't been able to sleep. I've been out. I put on probably about 5 pounds of muscle, I think, because I've been doing nothing but
Oh,
exercise and eat. But it's a situation where it's so much more unique when physicians get into this whole wellness industry. Everybody goes usually straight to men. It's easy, point click. You're done. You're good to
right.
go. You manage testosterone, DHEA, maybe IGF-1, and then all of a sudden, then all of a sudden the focus turns to the female aspect. You're just like, okay, it's a little bit more complicated. It's like Chinese arithmetic most of the time, but I do like how you've broken it down into the especially the diet and the exercise, because I think nobody really talks about lifestyle anymore. They're so quick to put you on a pill or a cream or whatever it is, and then, well, what do I eat? I don't know. Go ask your trainer. So to have a physician such as yourself who's double board certified, I think that's not only a kudos to you, but a kudos to the movement, I guess you would say, of really conquering what perimenopause and menopause is and can be.
Right. Yeah. No, it's fun. I just have been my patients, like, all perimenopausal women, and I love it. And I do have some male patients. Yes, they're a little bit more simple, but that makes it not as fun, I guess, right?
Exactly. This industry is just so wide open anymore. We're learning something every day. And I do think the true masters of this industry are students of life. They're consistently learning because we're always finding out new things. You know what I mean? And like you said, with COVID threw a pivot in everything. So now we have to readjust everything we learned before 2020. And who knows what else is going to come up and the stresses we're going under. And who knows every time you open a news cycle up, it's a different type of adrenal stress out there. So it's kind of a moving target.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially, bringing up men, like, I think it is really important for men to know this stuff about a woman's cycle,
Mhm.
and I would joke with my husband, I'm like, "Hey, I'm just a little more sensitive. I'm late luteal phase," or, we go out to
Little
eat.
page, little page.
Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm getting dessert. I'm late luteal phase." Like, it's so funny. I remember I was visiting my parents, like, they go to Key West for a couple months out of the year, and I was down
Mhm.
there, and I was just, like, eating. I'm like, "Where's the protein?" I'm, like, eating, like, on, like, a mission. My dad's like, "Why are you eating so much?" I'm like, "'Cause I'm luteal phase." And he's just, like, looking at me like, "Okay." So I think it's important to understand that because you might, or if you have like a daughter, like a teenage
Yeah,
daughter, you're not going to get on them for just like eating everything in sight. You're going to be like, okay, like they need more calories right now. Their body's in luteal phase. Like they're going to be fine. They're going to be in follicular phase and not even be hungry. Like
true.
it's okay. And when it comes to also like just the male and female relationship, like sex, right? Like a woman in luteal phase, like might not want to be like touched. She might
True.
just want to like face the other way and be intimate that way. I don't know, but like we need to like give grace, in these situations. But I do like, do you use with your patients PT-141 and
I love
oxytocin?
PT-1. I usually combine it with B6, oxytocin, and
Yeah.
every now and then, depending on the male, the woman, I still, I am a proponent of tadalafil in women for
Mm,
specific things. My actual, my troche I use for actually IGF-1 stimulation is actually sermorelin, CJC,
okay.
ipamorelin with tadalafil and oxytocin in it. Reason
Mm,
being is, they've shown that, especially with women in the perimenopausal years, the amount of nocturnal, times you have to get up to urinate actually diminishes both in men and women. So it keeps you in delta phase or helps you get to delta phase a lot more easily.
mhm.
And obviously the oxytocin helps induce to the alpha phase. So yeah, I think PT-141 is one of my favorite things to use for both men and women sexually.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one thing also, if you're looking at your cycle and trying to trying to sync your marriage to travel schedules or kids sports or who knows, you can keep that. I like the nasal spray. So you can
Nasal
keep
spray.
that in your fridge. Yeah, and use that a half an hour before and try to work that into because there when stress is a role, like a lot of people, men and women, they go right to like testosterone levels for sex drive. And
Yeah.
I will tell you, I have done hundreds and hundreds of saliva cortisol and blood testing on women's hormones. And it's not a testosterone problem. It's a cortisol problem. It's a
Yeah.
stress problem.
Cortisol's the worst one
Yeah.
out there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So that's, and that's sometimes women, they have alcohol to get in the mood or to help
Mhm.
relax them. I'm like, that's not good. That's going to mess
Not,
up your
not a
sleep. And
good
then the
go-to.
next day, yeah, yeah. So using these other things like PT-141, oxytocin,
Mhm.
you can use adaptogens.
Oh, yeah.
Those are other ways that if you're struggling with that, with your hormones or your relationship, there are other options out there.
No, and I think it's fascinating how I really like how you're courting, like managing your lifestyle around your actual menstruation, which I think is fascinating. Not many people, especially 5 years ago, even thought of that. So I think it's fascinating how we're actually kind of bringing that in now. Okay, fine, you'll be in the follicular phase. Let's plan, this 2 weeks for this one, this 2 weeks for that one. Sexually, physically, mentally, emotionally, travel. I think it's a very smart thing. So kudos. I absolutely love what you're doing. So that's really cool, especially from a Lecon grad. Even better.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's really fun, and I think it's important to talk about it and normalize it. It's been kind of fun. Like my book just came out, the Perimenopause Reset, like a couple weeks ago, and I
Congratulations again. That's awesome.
oh, thank you. And I'll bring it up to women and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I just wrote a book, The Perimenopause Reset." And they'll be like, "Wait, perimenopause?" And they'll be like, "I'm in that." And there's 8 million women in perimenopause. And, my goal is to help 500,000 of them,
That's
starting
great.
with that. Like it's a big goal, but like I really want to let women know that they can feel great in their 40s. Like literally like let's not have our hormones be an excuse for how we act or how we
Exactly.
feel.
It's
Yeah.
they aren't a prison, you know what I mean? Which I think
No.
is one of the biggest things in the world that people get so,
Yeah.
humstrung about with all that. Well, hey, I got to say, it's been an absolute pleasure. I always ask two questions though,
Okay.
as we end these ones. The first one is, as a physician who's looking to get into this industry, okay, so
Mhm.
you're coming from traditional medicine, you're just like, what is wellness? Let's jump into it. What is the best piece of advice you can actually give to somebody who's trying to get into this, whether you're a nurse, nurse practitioner, physician, or basically anybody who's going to be, tackling the wellness market?
Well, I would say, practice what you preach, but also get really good training. So my mentor, Pam Smith, has a personalized medicine certification, which I think is excellent. So
I love that.
yeah, I did a 2-year fellowship. That was great too. But I took her hormone course just as an just to learn more because we can never know enough.
Student of life. I love
Um,
that.
but her course is good. So training matters, and for those listening, you also want to make sure you're going to someone that actually has training. Because this is, and we were talking about this, like, I haven't, like, this is like a bandwagon thing. I think like there's GLP-1 companies that have like influencers selling them.
That's all it is anymore. Everybody's an influencer. If you have a million followers, you're a doctor. It's the most nonsensical thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yes. Oh, do you want to know what my rule is?
Go on.
Okay. So if you can't find someone's profile, website, whatever, WhatsApp, I don't care, app, like whatever, within 3 seconds, their actual credentials, then they're not a real medical doctor
Yeah,
usually.
I love that. Write that down, everyone.
Like
Mhm.
it's like their profile, it says doctor in their name, but you can't find their credentials anywhere. It's like a game of hide and seek.
Yep,
3 seconds, I'm telling you, every time it works. They're not a real doctor. They might be some other kind of doctor, but it's not a medical doctor. And these are the
exactly.
people that are usually talking about medical health things, and that is not okay. I don't tell people that I'm a mechanic or how to
I'll
fix
give you law
cars.
advice. I mean, like,
Could you imagine if I'm like, "Hey, like, this is how you fix a nail in your tire,"
mhm.
and I'm not a
That makes no
mechanic,
sense.
like,
Exactly. It's
so
like
so
everybody
just
sell your stock. Oh, I haven't said sell his stock. He's
oh,
got a million
man.
followers. Everybody's bankrupt now. You know what I mean? That's kind of what people don't get. They
Right,
equate
yeah.
likes, comments, and even followers to being like, oh, this person's credentialed. Or no, you can sit there and buy whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a situation whereas I think, they are bringing awareness to the industry, but they're bringing a bad awareness in certain things. Everything's NAD this and, methylene blue this, which I love both of those products, but some people don't need those. Some people they can be bad for, which you don't really see. Which brings me to my next one. I think you already answered it. If I am a patient who has been so succumbed to the traditional, oh my God, I need to pay attention to the CDC and the FDA and this is it, and all of a sudden you're like, well, maybe that's a little skewed. I'm going to take a look at the wellness industry. What is advice you can give to a patient who's especially looking for something who's perimenopausal, who's looking to just have a better life? What should they look for in a person that they take advice from, or a person, or even a clinic that they might actually go to?
Yeah, I would say same thing, training
3 second
matters.
rule.
Yeah, and usually don't go to a med spa for your hormones or yeah,
Or
that's
gym. I mean, like,
yeah, or
or
a gym, yeah, or
exactly.
online. So look for someone that actually knows like root cause medicine. Because I have a patient I'm working with right now. She did all the online hormone people, like all the things, and she just kept feeling worse and kept gaining more weight. And within the first well, I thought when she just told me what was going on, like briefly in a message, I'm like, "Oh, this is hormonal," because I didn't know she had done all the hormonal stuff. And then within the first hour, like, of our consult, or within the first half an hour, I was like, "Oh, it's mold." Like, that's why the hormones aren't helping.
Like,
So she yeah, so her root cause was mold illness from, think from like the house before she lives in right now. But
oh,
but
geez.
anyway, that's the thing. You can take all the NAD, all the methylene blue, like all the hormones, all the stuff, but you still might not get to the root cause. So if you don't know someone that has a lot of tools in their toolbox and a lot of expertise in Gestalt, then you just might be treading water for a while and just wasting money. So I think
Yeah,
that's hard. But
energy, feelings, everything. Yeah, you're right.
yeah,
100%.
yeah, it's hard. Like you said, like, people just there's a lot of pride going on, so people just want to be out there and like just be on things. So they pay to be seen. It's all pay to play. And that's hard. And then there's people like us who we're just genuine and just like want to get people healthy. So, it's
No,
just you have to use discernment and you might get burned, but if you do, just keep going. But it is hard though, like you were saying that a lot of these people that are doing it the wrong way or over the top or don't have credentials talking about this stuff, it does make it look bad for actual conventional medicine. Like
exactly.
I'm speaking at a conventional medicine conference on peptides, and I'm just going to make it so I have so many studies because I don't want conventional doctors to hate peptides because people ruining it, right?
Exactly.
Like,
You're right.
yeah,
It gives it a bad name. Yeah, I mean, the
yeah,
Brian Johnsons and stuff of the world, like, don't die. You're like, I don't want to look like that guy. And it's just like, that's not our industry. Please don't judge us. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty nuts.
yeah.
But again, hey, thank you so much. I mean, like, again, I've learned a lot about the whole the cycling aspect is fascinating. Sinking it, I really am. I'm going to dive more into it. I think I'm going to buy your book as well, just to kind of get
Yeah,
some
same with
better
that.
ideas on my end. But again, thank you so much. Again, check her out, Integrative Dr. Mom on Instagram. Thank you so much, Dr. Jen. It's been a blast.
Yes,
Again,
thank
this is
you.
Lifestyle Medicine, sponsored by Access Medical. Check us out on Apple, Spotify, send a carrier pigeon. You'll find us somewhere. But guys, thank you so much. Take it easy.
Thanks for joining us today on the Lifestyle Medicine Podcast. At Access Labs, every innovation we pursue is driven by one bold purpose: making personalized medicine more practical and accessible for patients and providers. If this episode sparked new ideas or challenged how you think about patient care, awesome. Follow the show and share it with a colleague who's ready to level up their practice. Head over to our website at accesslabs.com and register your practitioner account today. You'll get access to over 1,000 routine and advanced biomarkers with 24-hour results. When signing up, select Lifestyle Medicine Podcast as how you heard about us and score 10% off your first invoice. Oh, and don't forget, drop us a review. It helps more practitioners like you find us. We'll see you next time.